What's up, April? Tap the screen. Let's tap the screen. Tap the screen. Tap the screen. Let's tap the screen, get those likes up. Let's tap the screen and get those likes up. 16 people in here. Welcome, 16 people. Welcome to the live, 16 people. Welcome to the live, 41 people. Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome. Super solid, welcome. Hey, Priscilla. Welcome. That's right, boy. Oh, you're a racist. It's all right. You can hang around. Answering the last one, they're all criminals. No, I mean, only one of them has been indicted. So, indicted by a grand jury. So, saying, hey, hey, everybody see Priscilla down in the comments? Priscilla Gonzalez. Let's get Priscilla a follow. 178, 181 people in here. Let's give Priscilla a follow. Let's give Priscilla a follow. Let's get her back up to 1,000 followers so she can go viral again. Tap the screen. Tap the screen. There's 163 people in here, and we only got 1,600 likes. Hey, so if you agree or disagree, go ahead and hop in the box. I'm really curious since we're around the 4th of July, and I didn't feel like making another background today. We're going to keep talking about that. This is a quote from Frederick Douglass. The Fourth of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. Amen. Amen. Can we hear you? Can we hear you, Peach?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes. Amen.
Yes.
So, I wanted to apologize to you yesterday, Peach. When we was in Irish's live, I was trying to get catch Paulie saying some really wild shit, and then I ended the screen recording, and you started talking, and I was so captivated about you talking, I didn't even get it because that was amazing, and it was a point that even I like didn't even recognize in that moment, and it was amazing, and I missed it. Those moments give me motivation.
You're so sweet. Thank you. I was really disappointed because I felt like it sucks to end up getting banned because you told Black women in films they're beautiful, but worth it. It was absolutely worth it, and I would do it again. I think like what was really tough for me was like when I was leaving, I heard someone talking about what I said, and they characterized me as angry. And they said that of course she was angry, of course she was pissed off. And I thought to myself, it's loving myself and Black women and Black femmes, cis or trans. That's not anger, that's
It's
love.
not.
And
It's
I think,
passion. It's
yeah,
absolutely.
anti-Blackness, I think, often makes love and passion sound like anger to people who haven't processed their anti-Blackness, you know? So that was a tough
Hmm.
part of that, but I'm glad that I said it because I hoped that, um, the people who needed to hear it heard it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It opened my eyes most definitely. I think, and just speaking to your point, I've experienced like racism, but yesterday's conversation just really stuck out to me because it was 8v1, and I'm just sitting there looking around like, cause on TikTok we this is kind of dope that we can talk politics and talk about social justice issues. Because if these things were to happen in person, somebody get punched in the face, right? Um, and looking at it through that lens, like I was just in there and I was listening to the gaslighting. Oh, he's angry, you know. I'm not at all. Why are you angry? Um, and to be gaslit like that, that was crazy. I saw you tussling in the comments too.
Yeah, listen, I was born a black girl and I was raised a black girl, and until I was 30, I didn't really know about my gender. And so I experienced a whole life of both sides of this, not knowing my gender, knowing my gender, and it is no different in that particular lived experience in America, the experience of constantly being told that as a woman or as a person who presents as a woman, your only reason for existence is to be found attractive, to be found feminine, to be found soft and pliable, and all of those things that make a woman a woman. It is the only way that you can achieve any value in this world, and specifically speaking in our country. And so to be told at the same time that you've been taught that, you've been conditioned that by patriarchy your whole life, and to be told that just because you woke up looking the way that you look today, you will never be able to perform these things because you will never be attractive enough for whiteness to accept you, is like, I cannot describe to people, and I try the best that I can, I cannot describe to people how difficult it is to navigate a life like that, being told that you will never be good enough, no matter how educated you are, no matter how thin you are, no matter how much money you have, any of those intersections of identity, they don't really matter, because at the bottom, patriarchy as a tool of white supremacy runs it all. And if you're not attractive enough for men, then you will never matter. And so for me, it is a passionate subject that I do. I'm very interested in addressing with other people and reminding Black women and Black femmes that you are perfect, regardless of what this system tries to tell you. It doesn't matter how big your lips are. It doesn't matter how wide your nose is. It doesn't matter how big your eyes are. None of that matters. You are perfect because you woke up today. And so for me, that's, and I'm sure people may be reporting this account right now for saying this, but it's still true. And I appreciate you having this conversation with me, because I think it's necessary that we begin to recognize what we need to tell young Black children now to combat that message that they are getting every time they step out of the door. You know what I mean?
I agree. Amen. Amen. Um, you know, I work with, you know this about me, Peach. I work with young people all the time, and I think that those messages are very important. We do have, I think this is opposition. I don't know what side he's on right now. I'm not sure. Let's see. TikToker. What's up, TikToker?
Hey,
What's up?
can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
I just uh I just came in to make one correction and then I'll be out. Conservatives are the Confederacy. Well, you can thank the Confederacy then for passing the Civil Rights Act.
It's actually
Hey,
not even what we were talking about. You're welcome to stay up
No, but it
for
is a
conversation,
point up
though.
there.
hey,
So
real quick,
No, but
regardless,
that's
one
not what
second,
I was
one
talking
second.
about.
it may not be
Hey,
what you're
hey, one
talking about,
second,
but it
one
is a
second.
point up there.
Hey, TikToker, hey, TikToker. Absolutely, this panel. We can absolutely have this conversation, but let's not do the old back and forth like over talking. So, like, make a point. Like, if that's your point, I'll give you another opportunity to make it succinctly, and then I'd love for you to hear Peach's rebuttal to that point, because I think conversion is what I'm into today. Okay, cool. Is that cool with you, TikToker?
Go ahead.
All right. So it's on you to make the claim. The mic, the floor is yours. Just so we have it clear and succinct in regards to conservatives. TikToker.
Oh, you want to go? You want me to go ahead and defend what I
Do it
was saying?
again. No, 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 no. I said start over, just like because it was like a lot of back
Oh,
and forth, and I want to make sure that you were heard.
yeah. No,
That's all.
I'm just here for the just for that one point. Conservatives are the Confederacy. Um. And my argument for that is it was over majority of the Republican Party that passed the Civil Rights Act, while it was not the majority of the Democrats that passed the Civil Rights Act. While the Democrats did control the House and the Senate at the time, percentage-wise within the party, more Republicans actually showed up for voting yes on the Civil Rights Act than Democrats. So if you want to draw the Republican Party as Confederates, that's fine, but you have to acknowledge that as well that when it comes to the majority of the party, most of the Republicans showed up compared to Democrats.
Peach.
Mm,
Uh, Peach, you had a wonderful rebuttal, and then I don't know, Super Solid had one, and then I just wanted to point out one really
And
obvious thing.
just one thing that's public knowledge, you can look it up. It's just voting
Sure.
history. That's as simple as that. You can look it up.
Okay. Sure. Um, very confident. Very confident. Um, so if that holds true, let's hear Peach's rebuttal, and then Super Solid, and then I'll just point out the glaring fact that you're missing. Peach, the floor is yours.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm actually I'm gonna let Super Solid and you go. I'd rather listen to you guys right now.
Okay. Hey, Super
I
Solid.
think I'm about to beat you to it. So
Hey,
you want to just go? I think I'm about to beat you to it.
God damn it.
Yeah. Do you
God
want to
damn it.
go?
No, you know what? You know what? I was tussling all day yesterday. I'm taking the day off. You go ahead, Super Solid.
Okay, Mr. Toker. Can I call you that, Mr. Toker? I bet. Mr. Toker. I'm a smoker. I'm a joker. I'm a midnight toker. You walking on the ride. I'm a sinner.
All right.
That's it. So anyway, I need you to chime in there, TikToker, because I want to verify something you said. I want to make sure that I'm hearing you clearly. So if you could please join us, it would be very helpful.
I'm
Very,
here.
very helpful. Okay, thanks. Were you saying that Republicans voted yay on the Civil Rights Act more so than Democrats?
While there were more Democrats in Congress, that's because they had the majority in Congress. But if we look at each party percentage wise who showed up and voted yay for the Civil Rights Act within each party, yes, the Republicans percentage wise showed up more within their party and voted yes for it than the Democrats.
Okay. Could you please reread the bullet on the background there? Out loud for the class, please.
Conservatives are the Confederacy.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the
Yep.
one I'm pointing about.
That's the one you're talking about? Conservatives?
Well, obviously the Confederacy is given a bad image. I don't know much about the
Oh,
Confederacy, but
is it now? I wonder
lot of
why.
it's the
I
racial
wonder
history
why.
behind it. I'm not here to argue that the Confederacy is good, but if you want to paint conservatives as the
Oh,
Confederacy,
there's
well,
that
then
word
I'm
again.
just saying the Confederacy helped pass the Civil Rights Act in many ways more than the Democrat Party did, who you
Okay.
don't call the Confederacy.
All right. Okie doke. So conservative. So let me see if I understand your argument. You're saying that if we are to suppose that conservatives are the Confederacy, then the Confederacy passed more helped pass the Civil Rights Act because Republicans voted yay on the Civil Rights Act. Is that? I just want to one more time. I just want to make sure I understand.
I am
Are
not
you
giving
not
them
seeing? Are
total
you not
credit. I'm
seeing where
just
I'm going
simply
with this?
saying that as a party, because you connect their party with the Confederacy. So if we're going to connect them with the Confederacy, which is a
Oh,
bad group of people, you have to
incorrect.
admit one thing though, that
Incorrect.
percentage wise, they showed up more than the Democrat Party did. Now, number-wise, if we just look
Wait,
at the
wait,
numbers,
wait.
yes, there
TikToker,
were a
real quick.
larger number of Democrats, but that's because they held the majority in Congress at the time, so their numbers would be larger. But when we take the number of Democrats that actually showed up within the party to vote yes, that was much smaller than the number within the Republican Party that showed up to vote yes.
Okay. Are you
The
conflating
80% of
conservatives with
Republicans, I believe,
Republicans? Are
within the
you
party, yes.
conflate? Okay, geez. Are you conflating conservatives with Republicans?
Well, I mean, let's be real here. If anybody in the
Can
in
you
this
tell
audience
me
is
the
going to hear
difference?
the word conservative, it's always drawn to the Republican Party. So,
So,
you know,
does a common misconception make something accurate? Right? Like, does the Mandela effect mean that you know?
well, when you look at the voting, it didn't say the Conservative Party. It
Right, right,
said
right, right,
either
right.
the Independents, the
Well,
Democrats, or the
this
Republicans.
is
So,
your
well, I
point.
know where you want to go with conservative. I
This is
understand
this
that,
is this is your
but we're
point,
just
though.
talking about what's written in
This was
paper
your
on ink.
attempted gotcha. But this was your attempted gotcha. And I'm telling you that it is built on the presupposition that conservatives are Republicans. And conservative does not necessarily mean Republican. You can have a conservative Democrat, can you not?
Yeah, no, I'm not here to disagree with that, but
Okay,
it's
I'm gonna
still
pass it off to Liv. Liv.
Awesome. Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Sue. So we would be able to argue that they're both Democratic and Republican conservatives, right? TikToker, TikToker.
I'm a smoker. I'm a joker. I'm a midnight toker.
Ooh.
I got to get a new phone. My screen is cracked. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, yeah. So there we'd be able to say that there are both Democratic and Republican conservatives, correct?
Back in the day, yes, not today, no.
Okay. And so
Not
if
so
we
much
can,
when the party itself stands on progressive ideals and the Democrat Party very, very much stands on progressive ideals, while the Republicans stand on conservative views.
okay. So I guess my question is if
Some
you can
people
see,
call me
because
Maurice. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
he just walked right into it. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay. This is how you walk right into the point and miss it, right? So if in fact you can recognize that progressive is ideals, it means it's an ideology, right? Arguably because the opposite of these progressive ideals would be conservative ideals. So therefore, a conservative um, would be an ideal or ideology, not necessarily a political party. So the statement holds true that conservatives still are the Confederacy. You've done nothing to debunk that point. More to the point, I wanted to ask you something. Are you would you consider yourself a conservative
Um,
or hold
I'm
conservative
not quite so
ideology?
sure because I don't believe, like conservative obviously means what it means. It's to conserve, to keep. I do think certain things can change and should
Okay,
change as
sure.
history as the future goes on. So I don't think we should conserve everything in this country, but I'm kind of in the middle there. It just depends on what you want to conserve and what you think can change.
Sure. All right, so I'm gonna rattle off some things, and you're gonna tell me if you agree or disagree. We're just gonna do this real quick. You can just unmute real quick. It's so um do you believe in limited government?
Uh,
Yes. Come on.
to a point.
Okay,
Depends
great.
again. What are we
Okay,
talking
great.
about?
Is it
Limited
simple yes
government.
or no? Simple yes or no. That's all. I'm not trying to trick you
Well,
at all. Okay, so do
okay,
you believe in
no,
individual
then because
property?
there are certain things that I do believe that we should have more government in. But again, there's some certain things I believe that government shouldn't be in.
Okay, great. So basically, you for limited government. Great. Now, are you for individual property? Do you believe in individual property? And that is the to place a strong emphasis on individual liberties and personal responsibility. Do you believe in that ideology?
No, because no one really owns their own property.
What about you, William?
Yes, I believe. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you believe in tradition and stability?
I do. Yes,
Okay. So, what about fiscal responsibility?
absolutely. You should be physically responsible for yourself.
Absolutely. And then what about nationalism and sovereignty?
I would say yes.
Okay. And then last one is are you like skeptical of change? Do you want to keep things kind of the way they are? Like kind of put a freeze. We're good, little improvements here, but we're fine. Skept are you we don't need any radical change in our society?
I'll go off what Talker said. Like Toker, there are things that you just can't say we have to keep everything because the world does
Well,
evolve.
yeah, not
The
radical
human
change. We can
race
have
evolves. You know what I mean? Like stuff just
yeah, let
changes.
me clarify for you. Let me clarify. Just to be cautious about just things being radical change and prefer more incremental and reformed, more incremental reforms instead of like progressive changes. So then, like piece by piece, like very slow.
It, for me, you would have to bring up a certain item, and then we would have to, talk about it.
I don't know.
I can't just say like yes or no. Like some things need to be changed a little bit. Some things need to be changed a lot. Some things need to be left alone and not touched.
Sure. All right. So basically, that's incremental. Incremental change is what I laid out right there. So here's the interesting piece. Here's the interesting piece, right? Those same ideologies, right? You see those in the Articles of Confederacy. In each one of the countries that decided. I mean, each one of the states that decided to secede from the Union. The Confederacy. These are the ideologies of the Confederacy. The same illegitimate I don't know terrorist organization that looked killed shot first murdered 500,000 Americans and looked to uphold the institution of chattel slavery in America. So like my whole thing about the entire conservative ideology is simply this, William, is that conservatives look to put a freeze on things and then cause damage to the community and blame the destruction on the Democratic Party, on people of color and marginalized communities. I don't think that should be a function of government wholeheartedly. So, anywho, now that we've all walked to that point, hey, Sue, something you want to talk about in particular today?
Yeah. Did you say that? So you clearly covered the ground about conservatism as an ideology wanting to keep things either regress to a time that's more fondly remembered or conserve things the way they are. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I would really like to talk about how white supremacists use conservatism.
you got a call.
Hold on.
I think his mic went out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, William, is that you with the background?
Is that me? What am I? Do I have noise?
Yeah,
I don't know. Is it me?
mute real quick. Oh yeah, that is you. So just mute and unmute when you're gonna talk.
Let me
I
try
will
now.
do.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you.
All right.
Do you
I,
have
I
that
do want to
background
kind
noise
of
right
discuss.
now?
Let me see. Mute for me, Sue.
No, no tango.
Nah, ain't no background noise now. We
Okay, I
good.
turned the air conditioner
That
down.
was
I think
that
it was
was
my
me.
air
I
conditioning.
I got in the whip and it switched over to my hands free,
Yeah.
my
Gotcha.
Apple Play, because I'm balling. I'm sorry.
Can I can I say
Yeah,
one
no,
thing before we go forward about the bottom bullet? I say criminal, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, amen. He is a
okay.
criminal. Yeah.
Hey, man. So yeah, no, I do want
Everyone
to
in
talk about how
Washington's a
white.
criminal.
Hey, hey, Sue. Do you wanna? Can we go at that point? Because I saw it trigger you. Can we go at that point right
Well,
there?
no, the interrupting got killed me, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's all good.
All right, go ahead. Yeah. Hey, William. Let's meet. There we go. Thank you. No, it's on you, Sue.
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about how white supremacists use. Well, I mean, white supremacy is inherently a conservative ideology, but I want to talk about how they use conservatism as a Trojan horse to sneak in their crazy newfangled ideas about white supremacy. For example, the Great Replacement conspiracy theory and how it plays out in the reversal of Roe v. Wade.
Yeah,
Yada.
yeah. One can find
Yeah.
those correlations,
Yes.
and we also
Does
see,
anyone? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and we also see, we see it reflected in empirical data that's been collected over the past 50 years. What's up, Black Magic?
Hey, what's going on?
Are you okay?
I gotta stop smoking.
I have an oxygen machine. I'm pretty old.
I don't even know what you said. Are you
All right,
okay?
sorry. We're actually having a really productive conversation.
That
Go
sounded
ahead.
like Mr. Thomas, but like with COPD,
Huh.
Not chronic obstructive.
Oh
chronic
man.
obstructive pulmonary disease.
Hey, what's up, Jazz?
How's everybody doing today?
Yeah, okay.
Really well.
So y'all made it through the holiday, huh?
Amen.
Yeah, I don't call it the 4th of July. I call it the 4th of you lie.
Amen. Amen.
And that Supreme Court, that's a kangaroo court that I spell
Hey,
with
hey,
3 Ks.
amen. 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 Hey, Jazz. Hey,
Yeah.
we're actually having a conversation in regards to conservatism. Is that a conversation you'd like to participate in?
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to give you a direct quote from Franklin Roosevelt about conservatives. He said, a conservative is a person with two perfectly good legs, however, has not learned to walk forward.
Amen. I'm still in that.
that's
All right.
that's Franklin D. Roosevelt. Yeah.
So just a couple rules on the line. We just got to mute. Right now, Super Solid's on the floor. And then you can respond to anything he has to say right after he finishes speaking. Cool? Cool.
Got it.
All right, go ahead, Stu.
We lost a. So yeah, basically, white supremacists have managed to amass some wealth, right? And I feel as though they are utilizing that and in order to spread their ideology by using conservatism as a vehicle, even though racism is inherently a conservative thing to do, right? Um, they are things for example, Richard Spencer has um, kind of innovated overt racism by slapping a suit and a tie and pretending to be legitimate political punditry. You have your Jordan. What is the name? Jordan Taylor? No, what's my man's name? Uh, God, what's his name? Jacob Taylor? Something Taylor. Jared Taylor. There we go. Yeesh. You got your Jared Taylors out there. You got your Richard Spencers. You have your Don Blacks, right? Who understand the need to shirk off the traditional white supremacist aesthetic in order to be more clandestine about the ultimate goal of establishing a white ethno state. And I just want to know if anybody thinks I have a tinfoil hat on right now.
Nah, I agree with you. And like I told you, like we discussed earlier, I think the entire purpose of the Republican Party is to um, freeze everything and then use the tools of white supremacy to gain power. I mean, over the past 70 years, it's been progressive movements to disrupt that power that was given to white supremacists because of the control of people of color, indigenous people, and black people, but also women. So we see the system being wielded in real time to take back those rights, human rights, really, in my opinion. Um, and, and we're regressing. We regressed 100 years in 1 week. Um, I want to go to, actually, do want to go to Peach. and then jazz, and then after that, TikToker. Peach. Okay, TikToker.
I guess what's the conversation? I mean, I heard.
Oh, okay. Never mind. All right.
Okay, maybe can I
Maybe
break
we
it
was
down Barney
operating.
style? Maybe.
Yeah, break it down. TikToker. You needed to break it down Barney style.
Come again?
Do you need us to break it down Barney style for you? Maybe we were operating at too
Uh,
high of a wavelength intellectually for you to understand or conceptualize what we were actually saying.
That's not shade. I'm just saying.
No, that was
well,
absolutely shade.
I'm not.
With
I'm
all due
not
shade and
knowledgeable.
disrespect.
I'm not knowledgeable, and I'll admit it. I'm not knowledgeable on some of the people that were mentioned just prior to me speaking. So
Okay.
I'm not
Here,
knowledgeable on those specific people.
here,
Okay,
TikToker. Hey,
imagine.
Barney style, please, please.
Okay, imagine if you took your suspenders wearing, bald headed, Yastika tattooed white supremacist. Think of in your mind. Close your eyes, TikToker.
Your Honor really thinks that's the best use of judicial resources.
Do you have
What
a
is that?
witness who testified that they were
What
offended
is
by
that?
Ms. Wagstaff before the officer ordered her out?
What is that? Liv, is that you?
My
Yeah.
bad, my bad, my bad, my bad.
Oh, and it's raining hard as hell. I'm sorry. So if TikToker, I need you to stay with me. Is it cool if TikToker stays unmuted for a little while so we can have kind of a dialogue?
Absolutely, absolutely. And just real quick, hey, what's up, Pickle?
What's up?
So TikToker, can you unmute and talk to me real quick?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I want you to close your eyes, right, and describe what you think a white supremacist would look like.
Uh, in a nutshell, I think of somebody who's like somebody you would think like from the KKK or a Nazi.
Okay. All right. And what would their aesthetic be?
Really quick, not to interrupt, make sure you censor your words when you say things like that. Just kind of add more variables to the words, please, or say the triple K or something. Thanks.
Yeah, I got you. TikTok's sensitive. I got you.
Yeah, what would their aesthetic be? What would they look like though? Like how would they dress?
Oh, I mean, I'd like to just jump in and immediately say a white man, but I have actually in my personal life met people that are not white that have a negative outlook on anybody but people that are white. So, I mean, typically, yeah, traditionally, I would like to just jump to and say a white male, but I have actually um, witnessed in my lifetime people that are not white that
I have to repeat
uh,
it.
have a negative
It's all
view
good.
on people that look like them
Mm-hmm.
and
Uh-huh.
pretty much praise anybody who's white.
For the most part, like there's an image that's conjured up kind of in our minds, right? What would a white supremacist sound like? What are some things that you think an overt white supremacist would say? Just like if you can give me like two examples of just like baseline talking points.
Well, you said you. I don't know if it was you, but somebody said the Great Reset. I think that would be something that they would
Yeah,
definitely want to
the
bring
great
up.
replacement. They would bring up the
Yeah,
great
yeah,
replacement. Yeah.
yeah, the Great Replacement. I kind of imagine like a pastor in like a Southern church, in a small Southern church,
Mm,
and just like
mm.
almost kind of think of like that. If you seen that episode with Dave Chappelle, the one with the uh racist uh blind guy.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Clayton Bigsby.
So
Yeah.
I kind
So
of think of like that.
okay. So now let's take him right. Let's take Clayton Bigsby, All right, let's get them out of those suspenders and out of that flannel shirt.
Can I just
Right.
say, not unironically using Clayton Bigsby as an example for your argument?
Let's take those types of people, throwing the Hiles out and whatnot, right? And let's take them out of their suspenders and combat boots and their cargo pants, right? And
Uh
their
huh.
their muscle shirts, and let's slap them in a tie, right? And let's put a suit on them, right? Suit and a tie, right? And let's have them say the same exact things, right? Overtly, right?
I got you. I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I agree
so
with you
you
though. Like I
yeah,
do
you
agree
might.
they exist there. I know where you're
Yeah.
going.
Now let's pretend that they got hip to the fact that they have to hide their language because it actually hurts their movement if they're open and honest and they just say the words plainly, right? And let's imagine for a second that instead of uh, you know protecting the white race, they say um, keeping America pure, right? Or instead of saying making more white babies, they say keeping birth rates up. Or, um, you know, um, they say we want to make sure there's more legacy Americans, right, in the country. Is that something that sounds familiar to you? Legacy Americans, or keeping the country clean, or um, um, you know, uh, maintaining birth rates, things like that. Have you heard
I'll
that
be
from any
honest.
Republican or conservative
Yeah, I'll be
pundits?
honest. I'll be honest. The people I listen to, not per se like I'm not talking particularly any like actual politicians, but the people I listen to, that have their own talk shows, they don't speak stuff like that, but they consider
Can you give me an
themselves
example?
Ben Shapiro.
Yikes. Okay. What about Charlie Kirk?
No, I don't follow Charlie Kirk.
What about Dennis Prager?
No, I don't follow him either.
Okay. What about Candace Owens?
No, not so much. No, not Candace Owens. No,
How about Tucker Carlson?
no, I definitely even Ben Shapiro has had plenty of times where he has had to warn that you got to be careful when you listen to Tucker. He makes himself look like something, but if you really listen to what he says, he's not necessarily careful with what he says. He one minute he portrays himself as one thing, and then the next minute he's another thing. You got to really listen to what he says. But no, I don't
Yeah.
really follow Tucker.
Would you at least agree that many people take these pundits seriously?
Oh, of course. Of course, there's going to be people like that anywhere. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Um, so would it surprise you if I said, the dog whistles I just threw out have been repeated by each pundit that I listed?
No, no, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So the thing is, and I'm going to put it plainly, there are racists that fund propaganda campaigns to misinform the general public, um, and push white supremacist ideas and masquerade as simple political content, right? Conservative political content, and I fear that it's catching fire. I fear that it's gone from just a masquerade to now people who actually believe the things that Tucker Carlson and PragerU and Turning Point and even Breitbart say have actually infiltrated some of the highest echelons of leadership in the country. Case in point, Steve Bannon and Steve Miller were both advisors to Trump. right? We have meetings between Nick Fuentes and Donald Trump. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I
And
gotcha.
it would
I'm not
worry
really
me.
though. I'm really not a Trump supporter though.
It's all good.
I
It's
mean,
all good.
I get where you're coming from, but that's why I
Yeah,
even called him a criminal myself.
it would worry me. Um, were I a conservative, it would worry me that so many white supremacists um, push push out, have taken to conservative circles. Does that worry you that so many white supremacists have purported themselves to be conservatives?
Um, well, yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely not the type of people that I would want to surround myself around. But uh, I, like that's why I'm particular on who I follow. So like I said, you named a lot of people, but
Yeah.
those are
If
people
I
that I don't
were,
really follow.
uh, if I were in an apron club, right? I just really love aprons, right? I just
Okay.
love them. I love the way they tie around my waist. You know, I love the way they protect my shirt. I just love aprons. But I was surrounded by a bunch of butchers who also had on aprons, right? And they
Uh
say
huh.
they're in the apron club, and they got a reason to be in the apron club because they're butchers, right? Would I?
Gotcha.
Would it be weird of you to suspect me to be a butcher as well, or should I be surprised or angered if you associate me with butchers?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I agree with you. But I get your point though. Like, I mean, I've heard it from other people. It's there's people within every facet of this of these institutions and government, and like and like you can't recognize them unless you really study their speech, because people like to repeat themselves, and so you certain keywords that stand out, like you've mentioned prior before, like I mean, but those are things I recognize. But like I said, the people I listen to, which is a very small group of people, they don't try to speak about conserving like a group of people, or like based on their skin color. Well, they will though seek to conserve other things like religion, you know, and hard work and the nuclear family.
What if the foundation of those things are inherently anti-black?
Uh, I know where you're going with the nuclear family. I've been educated on that. Um, I actually been educated by my girl's aunt, who's a teacher. She teaches Black history.
His girl.
And I get what you're saying. Like the Black family structure was not that way. It was very different. One of the most common things I've learned is that within the Black family, they didn't just have your mom and dad. They had cousins, aunts, uncles living with each other. So the whole concept that you should just simply live under a mother and a father, like I get that, how it differs from the traditional Black family.
Uh, Further, I mean, there's lots of stuff, right? Crime and punishment, right? Being really tough on crime and punishment. How about having an enemy as a unifying cause, right?
Uh, what do you mean by that? I guess.
Well, demagoguery, I think, is common on the right. It happens a lot on the left as well. But demagoguery, as far as like, hey, let me give you an archetype for everybody to be angry at or afraid of, right? And then present myself as the solution to this thing that you should be afraid of, right? I'm going to save you all from this boogeyman, right? After 9/11, it was Islamophobia, right? The boogeyman was Islam, right? Um, for a while, Black Lives Matter was a boogeyman, right? That galvanized the right, had them the Blue Lives Matter, the All Lives Matter flags just came pouring out, right? So that's what I mean. Having an enemy as a unifying cause, right? Do you think that's something we should be, right? Do you see that often
Concern.
on the right?
Do I see it often in the people that I follow? Um. Oh. So
Well, if you follow
so
Ben
not
Shapiro, it's
necessarily
almost certain, right?
the
Go ahead.
movement itself. Let's bring up the whole BLM thing, right? Because you brought that up a second ago, right? So uh, Ben Shapiro, for example, somebody I told you I follow, right? He didn't push against the belief in necessarily in BLM, the saying, but he did push against the organization that used the movement to collect money
Why
on
do you
that
think
house.
that
So
is?
it's what's
Why do
that?
you think so much? So why do you think the hyper focus on the organization instead of the movement and the sentiment behind the movement? Because
Well,
I personally believe
the
that Black Lives
organization is
Matter.
a
Oh,
Marxist movement.
real quick, TikToker, my bad. I personally believe that Black Lives Matter is just a shorter way of saying stop unaliving Black people and getting away with it. But Black Lives Matter is just more catchy. Um, So why do you think the hyper focusing on the organization or what follies may or may not be there, and then no real attention to the actual plight that's coming against Black people?
Well, going to I think one of the problems with the whole there's a confusion between the movement itself and the organization. I think that's what a lot of people were
Right.
confused with. So you had a lot of people saying, "Well, I'm against BLM," and then somebody's actually not talking about the organization. They're just simply talking about
So
the
the
movement
fact that we're
itself.
even drawing a distinction worries me,
Yes.
right? Why are we even drawing a distinction when the root is that disproportionately Black people are unalived, unjustifiably unalived by police more than any other demographic per capita.
Can you kind of ask your question again? I guess I kind of didn't quite
Why are
follow
we?
what you.
Why are we? So the root of what I'm asking you is why the pedantry, right? Why are we focusing on the distinction between the organization and the movement when, at the end of the day, the only reason is should be a part of the conversation is because Black people keep getting unalived unjustifiably by police.
Well, goes back to what I said. Before one of the people I follow, Ben Shapiro, he wanted to point out that he wasn't against the belief that Black Lives Matter, but he was trying to inform people that there's a movement and then there's an organization, and you have a lot of people that want to push back against it because they think they're talking about the organization when you may be talking to somebody who's not actually talking about the organization, but simply the movement itself. They're like, oh, I don't like BLM. Well, which one don't you like? Is it
So
both, or is
do
it the
you think Ben
organization,
Shapiro
or is it the movement? So there's
do
confusion
you
sometimes,
think
and
Shapiro do you think Ben Shapiro is worried about Black people being unalived unjustifiably by police?
he's admitted it in his podcasts.
He
He
said it.
brought up he mentioned George Floyd
How?
that it never should have gotten there.
Mhm. And do you feel like that sentiment is he voices that proportionately to how much he talks about the difference between the organization and the movement?
Well, he talks more about the organization because, like I said again, there's so much of a
So he talks
confusion
more about the
between which one is
organization.
the organization and which is actually the movement. And he
So
focuses on the
at the end of
organization because,
in the end, do we not lose sight of the original picture that
yes,
Black people are? Yeah, okay. So that's
yep,
what I'm
I
saying,
agree.
and that's the point, right? Isn't that the
Yes.
point of like the denial of racism is racism, right? And any thought canceling cliche or detraction from or ignoring of the plight and institution of racism, I think is enabling racism to occur. So just because Ben Shapiro is a Jewish man himself, and just because he is not as extreme as, say, a Steven Crowder, does not mean that he is not doing the same work, right? And that's what I worry about. I worry about the fact that being conservative does not necessarily mean you're a racist, but it does mean that you are at least permissive to the actual racism that is functioning within your ideology, which to me makes you racist. So there we go, paradox, yay! Uh, so
Well,
that's
like I said, there was a lot of confusion with the movement versus the organization, and what the reason he brought up mentioned it was because he was against the organization itself, being as they're a Marxist group, and they actually admitted.
so
The
okay.
people that want to disagree with me, you can actually YouTube it. They interviewed all three women, and they said,
So
yes, we are trained in
John,
Marxist movement.
so John Ehrlichman once said, we knew we couldn't make it against the war to either be black or, we knew we couldn't make it against the law to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, we could vilify them night after night on the evening news, break up their communities, raid their homes, something to that effect. I'm loosely paraphrasing. Um, are you familiar with the McCarthyism movement?
I've heard of it, but no, I'm sorry. I'm quite ignorant to the information on it.
This was a screaming and shouting that took place from the late 50s all the way to the 70s about yet another boogeyman, Marxism. I believe personally that capitalists know that Marxism is a threat to them having an abundance. And that's why they push so hard against anything Marxist. But it's gotten to the point now where people don't even know what Marxism actually means. They just hate it because their in-group hates it. So let me ask you this. Can you define Marxism for me?
Not off the top of my head, no. But the reason he brings up
Can you give
that
me
they're Marxists
a
is because their agenda is to completely reset everything. And so what he's looking
which
at it is
is
like, well,
not
there are
necessarily
things that
true.
could be reset. Why should we reset the entire structure?
Okay, so that's not necessarily untrue as far as the agenda, right? But I don't think it's that cut and dry. But notice you you cannot readily define what Marxism is.
No,
Yet
not
yet
offhand, no.
yet you know it is you at least believe it is some type of scourge, yes, or some type of
Yes,
it's a boogeyman. Hence the demagoguery. You dig what I'm saying? I would like to point out that in Lawrence Britt's 14 characteristics of fascism, that enemies as a unifying cause is the very first characteristic of fascism. And you see how all these interlock, right? The Confederacy, ergo the racism, ergo the fascism, ergo the demagoguery. All this is taking place in conservative thought. And we see it because we know what Marxism is. But I worry that most conservatives do not because they've been malinformed.
yes, I hear you.
Yeah. Okay. That's my time. I'm going to give my time up.
Awesome. Well, TikToker. Super solid. Super solid. Hey, I just need to do this real quick. Hey, there are 86 people in here. We have Peach, super solid, Jazz. Let's go ahead and do a power 5 minutes of just gifting our people of color on this panel for the emotional labor and what we have on these when we have these conversations. Also, I have a new live goal set. We want to get to 20 galaxies in the next 3 hours and 57 minutes. So can we start off with the galaxy to the host? I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all. So TikToker. Keep wanting to say TikToker. TikToker. Oh shit. Hold on. We got some. Hold on 1 second. Giggity giggity. Giggity gig. What up?
How y'all doing?
You doing all right? How you doing?
Not too bad.
What's good? What's
I have
good?
a general
Hold
question
on. Give
for
me one
y'all.
second.
Go.
To get mine. Can you hear me? Hey, can y'all hear me? I had to put my AirPod in. Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, bet. What were you saying, giggity gig?
I have a general question about point number one. I'm curious if the negative view on the July 4th celebration is misplaced, as something bad versus as a beacon of hope,
Mm-hmm.
based on the fact that July 4th is a celebration of independence from a tyrannical government.
Okay. Rick, I got you. So, Rick, what's happening?
Oh, I was just going to respond to that because I think that's kind of silly. Like,
Oh,
it's a silly misinterpretation of what happened when this country got its independence, isn't it? Because independence for who? For who though?
yeah,
Because like indigenous people did not win when the United States got independence. They lost big time, big time historically. So like when it like maybe for some people, but like it wasn't like as like it was, and also like the UK much later or much earlier rather criminalized slavery like way before the United States did. So
yeah.
like
And so, that brings me to a great point. Hey, Gig, I want to see something real quick, and I'm not like I got some questions for you. Hey, go ahead and unmute for me real quick. Let me get everybody else to mute up. And I'm gonna go right to Soup. See if Jazz, you've been quiet. See if you got something, and then we go to Itchy. So giggity gig. I got some questions. Um, Declaration of Independence. What happened on July 4th in 1776?
Go ahead and tell me. I don't. I
No, I'm
mean,
asking. No, I'm
you want to
asking
make
you.
a point. I'm talking
No, I'm
about
not.
what the celebration is standing for.
No, I'm saying I'm asking you. I just want to see if you know the history of July 4th. What happened? Like, why do we celebrate July 4th? Is what I'm asking.
We celebrate the 4th of July to celebrate our independence versus what was happening for the colonists against a tyrannical government.
Okay. So, July 4th, 1776, they made photocopies of the Declaration of Independence. They didn't even have it a title yet. They didn't even call it anything, right? They didn't sign the paperwork until August, right? So in regards to even sending it over to Britain, they hadn't even done anything with it until August. More to the point, though, right? The Revolutionary War wasn't over until 1782. So it wasn't until almost 6 years after they signed that paper and sent it over, that the Revolutionary War had ended. So if it was about American independence and the celebration of that, why would America celebrate Independence Day when they were never even independent?
So your argument is that we shouldn't celebrate the 4th of July on the 4th of July because the date is wrong?
No, my argument is, why would we celebrate independence on the day we didn't have independence?
So again, the date of our independence is wrong, and that's we should
Sure.
change the date.
No, that actually goes to my other point of why do we celebrate it on July 4th?
Yeah, I mean, we could start a petition and tell them to fix the date, I guess, but that
No, I actually, my other question is, why
further.
do we celebrate it? Why do we celebrate it on July 4th?
I mean, the date in which we celebrate it, I mean, if that's the argument, the 4th of July
No,
shouldn't be the 4th of July, then so be it.
no. What I'm asking you is, if the United States government recognizes July 4th, 1776, as the day we celebrate independence, why did the United States as a government pick that date?
Why?
You don't know. Okay. They picked
Wait,
that date because.
let me
All right,
say this
so
much.
okay,
I
so
know
that
I've
just
listened to you
confirms
guys kind of talk
giggity
down to
gig.
TikToker. If you have a point to make, just make it. I mean,
Oh, okay.
talking down and trying to ridicule someone isn't
No,
going to do it.
I'm not
If you have a
ridiculing you.
point on the actual date,
I'm
then just make
sorry.
it.
Well, listen, I'm sorry you're feeling triggered right now. It's not. I don't really care.
I'm not triggered at all.
So
I'm
the
just saying you
okay.
can ask the question a
So
million times. If you have a point to
sure.
make about the particular date, then just make it.
Sure. No, my question was because individuals that come in and argue this, I find this to be fascinating on why they pay homage to a day that never was even independence. And arguably, I haven't even, well, recognizably, I haven't mentioned the indigenous or black people in this entire conversation about independence, right? The reason we celebrate it on July 4th is because Thomas Jefferson and George Washington both were born and died on that day. So on July 4th, we would be celebrating. We understand the position that George Washington took in regards to indigenous people. We understand what Thomas Jefferson was doing to Sally Hemings. So my question for you now, Giggity Gig, as I pass it off to Soup, is why would I celebrate two people, two individuals that thought I was less than human, called the indigenous people the Esler, and enslaved the descendants of African people for nearly 400 years.
No, I think that's fine. I think back then, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that didn't view blacks as less than human.
Yeah.
And so by that standard, if it flows all the way back to
Hmm.
that time point, then we should all hate everything. But
Yep.
at the
Okay.
same time, we shouldn't discount the progress that has
Amen.
been
Thank you for the
made this
gift.
far. Do we have a long way to go? Yeah, we're not even halfway there. Um, but I also don't want to discount the progress that's been made, I guess is my point.
Okay. Great. So, Soup, I'm gonna call an audible because I saw Pete's hand up, and they're always succinct, and we're just gonna go let you have a dialogue, Soup, and then I don't know if Itchy wanted to chime in after that. Yeah. Real quick, I just got one more question. This may just throw the lob to what all my melanated brothers and sisters are thinking. First of all, actually, giggity gig, black people, because that just hasn't been sitting right with me. Not blacks, okay? Black people, that's important. And yeah, go ahead, Peach. That's kind of just threw me off, though. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I'll wait until everybody else goes. I just wanted to also be included in the rotation. I can wait.
Oh,
But
okay. I thought you.
I
Okay,
would
great.
I would ask Giggity if you could please stay out of the comments because you actually have people who are going to spend their time and speak directly to you. They're going to invest a lot of time in sharing with you. So if you could just focus on the people who are talking to you, just out of respect, that would be really cool.
Yeah. And there's 80 people in here. Make sure we tap the screen, run the lights up. Make sure we gift the panel for this emotional labor and education that we're about to give to Giggity Gig, and maybe even TikToker. I don't know. But yeah, we also have galaxies. We haven't had any galaxies yet. It's making me kind of sad. Make sure we get those galaxies going. All right, and my last question, actually, Giggity Gig, is if in fact the onslaught of what George Washington and Thomas Jefferson are still impacting black people, right? When did it stop?
When did what stop? Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So the viewpoints and the ideals of both Thomas Jefferson and George Washington created and were influenced in the creating of this democracy in our society, right? And so their viewpoints in regards to indigenous people and black people and the enslavement of black people have perforated our entire country through the doctrine that is the Constitution, and arguably, and actually, also, I'm sorry, the Declaration of Independence, right? So when did that subjugation of black people, and more specifically, indigenous people, stop?
It's never stopped, and to the point that you guys are making, which I don't disagree with. when a country is built on that, we're well over 200 years past that, and we're still struggling with it. So it's taking a way too much time, way too much energy, to correct it. And that's really, based on the fact that it was built, on, stealing this land, which everybody here is, I assume. No one's indigenous, but, built on slavery. And that's how the country started, which is why we're just so far behind.
I agree. All right, so we're just gonna get a quick rotation. Welcome to the live, Dantrell. Welcome to the live. Hey, real quick, Dantrell, I love seeing y'all. Could you tilt the camera back behind you real quick? Amen, amen, amen. Hold on, wait, let me get.
Hey,
Amen.
that one
There we
just
go.
sold. Y'all, that's the
There we
last
go.
time. Okay, this one just sold. This is the last time you're going to see it here. But guess what? It's going to a new facility being built in Virginia Beach, Virginia, called the Virginia African American Cultural Center. They just announced that I will be the first artist to go into that center, and 6 of my pieces will be there, including the one I did with the hand up that got Shay's face on it, Shay Osun, aka the Black
Hey,
Historian. So,
amen.
so I just
Amen.
gotta. I come in here smiling because I came in here with. I just got my
Oh
wire
Did
transfer.
it hit? It hit? Oh,
Lord.
hey man, my tires, bro. My tires is like,
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, thank
Run
you.
that check up.
Now maybe
Run
I'll
that check
comb my
up.
beard.
All right, so look, we're gonna get a quick order. We're gonna go Soup, Peach, Itchy. Then we're gonna go TikToker. Hey, Jazz, did you want to add something?
Man, I've been here. It's a good thing I got a lot more time than money, and
Oh
I'm
man,
patient.
listen. Hey,
I
hold on,
promise I'm gonna
my
shut
Damn,
bad.
up.
Old school. Hold on, old
I
school.
was thinking I was
Usually,
invisible.
hey,
Jazz can go
no,
in front. Jazz can go in front of me to keep things
okay,
kosher.
yeah,
Well,
my
thank
bad.
you
So,
so
Jazz,
much, man. Forgive my lack of vocabulary, and I am definitely not the smartest tool in the shed. As a matter of fact, I didn't even make it to the shed, but I've seen a lot of shit in my 70 years on this planet, and still a good piece of leather, well put together. Let me add that in. But love your lives, man. Hello to everybody. I just noticed in my 70 years and being on TikTok, a Flintstone living in a Jetsons age, um, we were putting a lot more, I see people putting a lot more emphasis on problems instead of the solution. We need to get that solution together. As far as, say, the Confederate flag, and for those John Wilkes Booths, George Wallace Hannitys in the world, they hide behind the fact that, oh, it's heritage. Well, I work in Germany 6 months out of the year, and I'm in Europe and have been all over Europe with what I do. I'm an entertainer. Um, they don't fly the swastika flag in Germany anymore. Germany is a good example in that they were once globally embarrassed. They found the cancer, which was Adolf. They got rid of it and they moved forward. See, so you can't fix the problem unless you know what the problem is. America's slow crawling because they won't admit what the problem is. In other words, there's a lot of deception. The super higher uppers are starting fires in the east and then going to the west and robbing it while nobody's paying attention. Um, People are vilified through the media. That goes all the way back for me to Richard Nixon, who lost the first political televised debate as presidential debate against Kennedy. Now, Nixon lost, but he never forgot the power of the media. So when it came time for re-election, headlines read, first white president into Red China, ended the Vietnam War, made a phone call to Neil Armstrong on the moon. How do you not voting back in? Um, the rebel rousers or the Confederate flag wavers, they and Trump have something in common. they're sore losers. Because that flag should not be flown. Robert E. Lee himself said, build no monuments to the Confederacy. We're one country now. For me,
Amen.
the coolest of the Caucasian persuasion in my time period was that of the hippie, because the hippie wasn't a guy that was going to go out and blow up a federal building or anything. What he was saying was free, everybody's equal, prove it. Because they was just into smoking trees of green and partying and having a good time. That hippie knew the more different you were, at the end of the day, if you spent time together, you would both leave more knowledgeable simply because you were different. Um, I'm just saying, solutions. That's what we need, and people need to fess up. And some of those bigots, they need to just get locked in a cell and made to watch Jane Elliott videos for 24 hours, because they some and it's crazy to me how the rich even in slavery days, went to the poor white tee and said, hey, look, I know you're not going to play first string, but here's the important thing. We're wearing the same uniform. So long as you're not them, you're better than them. I don't see how it is that poor people, and I would say mainly in the South, still vote Republican, and they're so poor after the rain, their rainbows are in black and white. Some of these people couldn't put a down payment on a donut hole, but they're still voting for people that are all about the rich. And everybody in the world wants to climb the financial ladder. Everybody wants more, but greed is the problem. And the people that are in control of politicians and media, they're stirring the pot. They're separating this from that. That's all I got basically say. Yeah, yeah, yes.
You would be hard pressed back in the day to find somebody who didn't think black people were subhuman, and I tacitly disagree with that. Reason being, you knew that you had presidents
So,
and
Solid,
leaders. Yeah.
Solid, can you mute
Mhm.
yourself and unmute again? Nobody in chat can hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I hear
I
you.
can hear you.
I
Okay.
can.
Okay.
The people in chat were saying they couldn't hear him.
Okay.
Okay, everybody can
All right.
hear you, it looks like.
Okay, so Giggity was saying that back during slavery, you would be hard pressed to find somebody who didn't think that black people were human, that everybody thought black people were subhuman, and I tacitly disagree with that. You had folks like Thomas Jefferson and all these leaders, the paragons of the time, sneaking back to the shed to bed to our word black women, and people knew about it. So they either were okay with their paragons, their leaders, uh, at the time doing the equivalent of sleeping with livestock, or they knew that black people were human and just were okay with mistreating them and needed the pseudoscience to justify it. So I'm going to move on from there. This is the third time that I've heard um, the argument that the 4th of July is about freeing yourself from a tyrannical government or a tyrannical entity. And I want to ask this. If a government or a governing body it made it legal that I could be owned, that my children could be owned, that I could be inherited, that it was okay to eviscerate me, rip children from my wombs, tie me to four separate animals, slap them in different directions to see which body part would rip off first, take my teeth and use them for dentures, whip my back until you could see the muscle. If a governing body thought that that was okay and that I was property to that extent, would that not be tyrannical?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then if we are celebrating freedom from a tyrannical entity and black people were still suffering under a tyrannical entity, then why would it be feasible for us to celebrate freedom from a tyrannical entity that occurred on July 4th?
My rebuttal is that their form of tyranny was different, and in their minds, and I'm going to use Trump as an example of this. In their mind, they weren't being tyrannical. We disagree, but what was happening to them, they found
So,
they weren't being treated
so I'm gonna
as.
ask again, Giggity. Is it not tyranny? Was slavery not tyranny?
I
Hey,
answered
real
that.
quick. Hey, real
The
quick. Hey,
simple,
Jazz. Hey, Jazz. I'm gonna let you down. If you want to come back up, just hop in the box. Just doing some
All right, man. All
quickerizations.
right. All right.
the simple ownership of a human being is tyranny. And if the fourth is about celebrating freedom from a tyrannical entity, yet at the time, black people were under another tyrannical regime, why would it be expected of us to celebrate that day for that reason?
I was answering that.
Well, let me steelman your argument. If I understand you correctly, you were saying that it was a different type of tyranny. And at the time, white people didn't know they were being tyrannical or didn't consider what they were doing tyrannical. Yes?
That's what I said. Yes.
Okay. Um, I'm struggling to find the relevance when my people at the time were still suffering under a tyrannical entity, whether it be blue tyranny, whether it be pink tyranny, whether it be chocolate flavored tyranny or vanilla bean flavored tyranny. I
Amen.
don't see I don't see the relevance um, when when at the time my people were still suffering from tyranny, under tyranny. I don't think I don't understand the surprised Pikachu face that many of my white compatriots have when we are reluctant to celebrate freedom from England when we were not free from America.
I want to point out it's also just not true that uh, there was no, even there were other white people back then who recognized how ridiculous it was to declare freedom and independence while owning slaves. Like there are quotes back then of other like plenty of people disagreed with them at the time. It's just that we don't take their opinions into consideration. Like not like it's not even. It's patently ridiculous to be like, oh, they didn't know that they were being tyrannical. Like, of course they knew.
Well, they knew.
Didn't
They knew.
care.
They knew 100%.
Like,
They knew 100%. They invented a bunch of pseudoscience that they admitted themselves was pseudoscience to justify right that tyranny because they knew that they were doing something wrong and they had to find a way to justify it. So they started measuring skulls. BTW. If you ever catch somebody measuring skulls, run because they're about to subjugate and disenfranchise and dehumanize an entire swath of people. Okay, that's all. I got to drive home, y'all.
All right. All right. Peach.
I only had two
Are you
questions.
there?
No,
Okay.
it's okay. I'll wait. It's okay. I'll wait.
Okay.
And Lloyd wanted to talk. I'd like to go after Lloyd, if that's okay.
Okay.
I only had two questions, and I was next. Lord, I'll let you go, but I only had two questions, and TikTok left, so I only really have one question for Giggity. Can I ask that one question? Um, Giggity, how was your 4th of July yesterday? Day before yesterday, or this weekend? How was your 4th of July?
I'd say uneventful.
So you didn't enjoy it?
We didn't do much celebrating.
Y'all didn't do much celebrating by choice?
Yeah, we just had a lot going on.
Okay. So normally, do you have good 4th of Julys?
I would say I'm in hospitality, so usually 4th of July is pretty busy for me.
Also, yeah, I get it. You're in hospitality. I get that. I get that. So my question is, normally, when people have family over, when they have friends over, usually they're in their own zone. Um, Lots of time people go to baseball fields and fairgrounds to enjoy fireworks and stuff like that. You've ever done that?
Yes.
So, question, and this is the only question that I have. If it's less of us there, do you have any less of a good time?
Your question is, if there's fewer people at a celebration, do I have less of a good time?
Fewer
Yeah,
black people.
I would say so.
Fewer black people.
If there's fewer black people, do I have less of a good time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say typically so.
It's a lot of people who look like you and probably vote like you from the way it sounds that wouldn't. So my question to you is, and to a lot of y'all is, why are y'all so worried about what we do?
I'm not worried about what you do at all. How do I vote?
You came up here and asked us, why have we decided to not participate in your holiday or the holiday of the fourth?
No, my
And
question was, go ahead. Sorry.
no, that wasn't your question. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, my question was, I wonder if we shouldn't look at it a little differently. And I think Jazz, he said he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I would say that man's pretty wise and far more eloquent than I am.
And you
And
know
I,
what do you know what the difference is? Jazz comes from a generation, and this is not a knock or a complaint. Jazz comes from a generation that was okay with being, what's the word? Inclusive, or what's the word I'm looking for, Dan Trail? Inclusive. Um, Fitting in, trying to make things work. Well, we've watched our grandfathers do that. We've watched our fathers do that. We've watched their fathers do that. And this generation is just not going to accept less. We don't want to. We don't want to participate in your shit. We don't want to participate in your holidays. We don't. We actually, at this point in time, we don't even want to assimilate. And that bothers y'all. And I don't understand why it bothers you, because in this country, everything is segregated. Your neighborhood segregated. Your grocery stores are segregated. Your churches are segregated. Your schools are segregated. But because now we want to segregate ourselves or not participate in the lie, y'all upset with us? I just want to, I wonder why. And I just want to know why.
I'm not upset by any of it, by anything. Does it bother me that that y'all don't want to be included in anything? Absolutely. I think that, that's kind of where we're trying to get to, is that everybody is, on the same page. Can we get there? Maybe not, but we can sure sell.
Lord, you can have it now. I was done with my question.
Well, thank you, Itchy. First, for us to get on the same page, we got to be reading the same book. And if you're reading How America Was Invented, your book, and not incorporating the pages from our book, then we'll never be on the same page. You first got to understand this, is that, and since we're talking about the 4th of July and the settler colonial experiment to break away from the British, you got to understand first, there were free black communities here who were excluded to fight in the Revolutionary Army until the British started incorporating black people into their armies. That's the first thing you got to understand. These colonies did not want black participation to fight for their independence. Until they seen the influx of black people and enslaved people going to British to fight with the British, that's when they said, hey, Let's get these enslaved black people to fight for us. So black people fought on both sides. One was fighting for the interest of being free. The other one was fighting for the interest of saying that they were part American also. Then you also want to look at the 30,000 Africans who escaped to Canada, the 20,000 Africans who went back with British people to go back to Britain. You also got to look at how Georgia lost 75% of their 15,000 enslaved people after the war to actually escaping, right? So when you look at the 4th of July, it's very complicated because while you were fighting for your freedom, you was also fighting for your freedom to keep us enslaved, because it was another 33 years until they would actually abolish the transatlantic slave trade, another 90 years until they'd actually try and do away with slavery, what we call do away, and I'm putting quotations behind 1865, another 90 years that they finally say a 13th Amendment could actually say slavery was illegal and abolished. So you want us to celebrate a day that you guys actually literally said that slavery is going to be good and start to do things to our ancestors. So how can we survive when you codified a practice with us after your breakaway from the British? How do we celebrate that? So now, and even if you look at that, some people sit there and say, oh, well, the North was good. Understand this. The North was just as bad because the North codified slave laws to ensure that black people were enslaved until the age of 25. If you're a woman till 19, if you're a man till you're 25. And if they had children while they were enslaved, their children would then be enslaved until that age also. You got to understand, it was black communities of free black people who would petition the people in the North. So the North was not nice. The North was not saying slavery is bad. It was black free communities who would petition the northern places like Massachusetts, all these northern places. I would actually literally tell them, hey, free our brothers and sisters, free them. And that's how it started happening. So it's bad that you have this bad settler colonial memory that you don't understand why a black person would sit there and say that's your freedom day, not ours, because that was the day. And understand this, how the hell did we gain? During Reconstruction, they counted 4 million black people coming out of enslavement. That's not even counting the free black communities. So how do you get up to that number? Because even after the Revolutionary War, you guys set up death camps. Y'all set up breeding camps for our people. So you can't sit there and tell us how can we celebrate a day that y'all codify laws and actually maintain a power structure that could continue to dehumanize us and never give us the same power that y'all had. So you cannot tell us, hey, celebrate the 4th of July. That's our no, that's your Independence Day, and that was the day that you codified that we were less than human. So stop trying to tell us, well, let's get on the same page. Let's get on the same page. The only way we're going to get on the same page when we get on the same page, that means give us some reparations. We can't get on the same page until you give us the true and free equality. We can't get on the same page unless we are represented right in the political realm. We can't get on the same page until you guys start putting grocery stores in what y'all would call our ghettos, until y'all stop making food deserts, until y'all stop buying us out of our homes. We cannot get on the same page until we see equality across the board. And right now, we can never see equality. So the book you're reading and the book I'm reading is two different damn books. So we'll never get on the same damn page.
Ditto.
Hey, let Peach go deep. Peach been waiting. Go ahead, Peach.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to really check in with Giggity really quick and see if you're learning anything at all.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And the thing that I wanted to talk to you about was you made it just a little comment when Itchy asked you if the attendance of Black people at celebrations you attend affects your experience that you've had. And you actually said it does affect your experience. You said you don't think you have as good of a time as you would have if more Black people were in attendance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so I just wanted to quickly talk to you about how, man, that's a really tough thing to say, because I wonder if you're saying that. Are you saying that because you just are thinking I have a really good time around Black people, like they are happier at parties or something?
I'm saying that because the Black people that I hang around with are a lot of fun, and so when they're not there, it's just simply less of a party.
Gotcha. I really appreciate you being honest and vulnerable with me and sharing. Lloyd, it was really good to hear you speak. Thank you so much for sharing. Giggity, I wanted to talk to you about how gosh, your stance is positioned on the service of Black people. So I wonder, is your concern about what Black people should do for you, right? And I get that that's kind of a complimentary thing to say, like Super has a joke that you're saying Black people are lit. It's kind of complimentary for you to position it that way, but I wonder if you've considered the idea that you actually haven't considered what this particular date might mean to us and Indigenous people and Latinx people, people of color in this country, and versus you're just saying, no, it would make it a better holiday for me and mine, my white family, my white experience. Do you see what you're saying there when you're saying that it would be a better time if we attended, but you're not considering what that really means? I'd like to give you a quick example. There were several parades. I think, do I have an echo? There were several parades, of course, all over America on that day, and one of them, there's a viral TikTok floating around where is a line of non-people of color, and one of them is riding a horse, and behind them, with shackles attached to her arms, is a non-Black, non-person of color woman who is in cosplay in traditional Indigenous garb. She's dressed in a brown leather dress with a fringe and some booties, and her hair is in two braids, and she's actually being dragged by the horse through this parade. And so, and that happened. Today is July the 6th. So that happened 2 days ago, not 2 years ago, not 22 years ago, not 52 years ago. That happened 2 days ago. And so when we discuss things like this, and her name was not Pocahontas. Her name was not Pocahontas. When we discuss things like this, we both discuss it in the context of the past and the past in America and how that informs our present, but we also discuss it in the context of the present, that in this day, in this time, in this moment here, right now, we actually are not afforded the opportunity to truly celebrate any aspect of freedom because we are consistently and continually reminded of the white supremacist system that informs everything we do here. And so my question to you is both twofold. Have you considered this idea that you actually just want Black people to service you? And two, have you considered what it must mean for people of color to try and attend any sort of public celebration when consistently faced with behaviors and rhetoric like what I just described to you?
Sorry, when did I say I want Black people to service me?
That's what I was telling you by you saying that it affects your experience at July 4th celebrations for Black people not to be there, specifically because if they are there, you will have a better time, which means you're expecting the service of Black people to, I guess, enhance your party goings, you know? Does that help you, or do you need me to use a different word
No,
to
I know what you're
combat your
trying to say.
sensitivity? No, I'm not trying to say anything. I said the words that I said. Inference belongs to the hearer. I implied nothing. I said specific words and I chose them very specifically. If you would like to infer meaning into that beyond what I said, that's your business, but it's not what I did. Do you need me to use different words so that your sensitivities won't be affected?
It sounds like you're inferring what I said.
Inference belongs to the hearer, and you said, I know what you're
That's right.
trying to say. So I'm inferring by that you're not accepting the words that I'm saying just as they are. If you need me to use different words so that your sensitivities won't be affected, please let me know. I'm glad to.
No, I think you're putting words into my mouth is what you're doing.
Okay,
I
so
also
you're
asked a
not going
very
to answer my
pointed question
questions,
about.
and that's okay. It's
No,
notable to
it's an
me
unfair
that
question, so no, I'm not.
it's notable to me that the men who spoke to you did not get any pushback whatsoever, but a person that you think is a woman spoke to you and directly called out this idea that you have of Black people being of service to you to positively affect your day-to-day experience as a non-Black person in America gets pushback. So you've actually answered my question. I appreciate your time. And, have a great day, because there's not going to be any productive conversations between you and I, but I'm glad to let Itchy, Dontrell, Rick, Liv, or anybody else who comes up discuss this with you, because you obviously don't have the capacity to discuss it with me.
Hey, Peach, you really should. You really should. And I'm not telling you that you got to do it, but you should really thank me for that alley oop, because that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
You darling. Thank you.
Hey, I love you at the same time. I'm upset because you didn't leave me nothing on the plate. You left me the parsley. But I'm gonna go the other direction real quick and just say, King James the First uh, arranged financial situations for this place to be colonized. They did it because they wanted the whole thing was to bring the riches back to England. And when they established the colonies, they established the fact that since we paid for y'all to go over here, y'all owe us taxes. I submit to you that all the colonists did was welch on an agreement, and they celebrating on the fact that they welched on an agreement. While stealing land, they welched on an agreement, got other people to come do the land, and then stole the land from the people that saved them when they was around here eating each other up, and which is documented through history that in Jamestown they were eating each other because they didn't know how to farm the land. So what I see the 4th of July as is a celebration of thievery and welching on bets. And why would we, it's more so, why would we celebrate than just why would we celebrate the fact because we were bonded? If we would celebrate, we would be pulling for the British who offered free runaway black people who were running away from bondage quarter in freedom if they fought with them. So we would be celebrating the wrong side. We would have been on the British side at that particular point. So this romanticized history of y'all came over here for religious freedom and all that, it's been documented proof that that was just a lie. You came over here, you were sent over here to spend back taxes, or you were undesirables and they sent you to Georgia, which was a prison colony. And to quote Donald J. Trump, when we were getting y'all, we weren't getting the best people. We were getting the murderers. We were getting the criminals. So why would we celebrate thieves who didn't want to pay their money back? That's my response.
If I could just frame that more as a question to Giggity, like, why do you actually celebrate? Like, what is there to celebrate for you, even for white people? Like, what is there to like? Because I mean, realistically, like what Dad Charles just said, like, we are not it. Like, it's not a country. Like, what difference would it make if we were Canada? That's basically what would have happened if the U.S. failed in the revolution, right? Like, we would be Canada, and it would not be really dramatically that much different than it is now, uh, realistically. And so, like, what is the big deal about it if it's not celebrating the whole all the shitty things? Like, what actual benefit is there to celebrate?
I'm not going to play hypotheticals because we really don't know. I mean, it could have gone. It could have been a great thing. One,
sure,
it could have been a worse thing.
But I'm asking
we
you
don't
specifically,
know.
like, what are you celebrating?
Here was. I'll rephrase, or I won't even rephrase it. I'll simply repeat the question that I asked, which was, should we not look at July 4th celebration as a beacon of hope? To be able to change a system.
All right, I
Bro,
got
how
this
many
one, Itchy.
different times
I
and how
got this
many
one,
different
Itchy.
ways can we tell you no?
I got this one, Itchy. Okay. So
I just
Giggity.
want to point out, though, Liv, before you get started, that I already answered this question, but apparently maybe my voice is too small or feminine to count as a valid answer. But I did already answer this question that he's pretending that he still has.
Hmm. I know. And so what hold on one second. Thank you. What we're gonna do is simply this. Giggity. Um, there have been, I believe, 5 or 6 black people, and one white folk come up here and explain to you that there's not, so we should not be celebrating holidays that oppress other people. There are reasons why we don't celebrate Columbus Day, right? There's a reason why we don't celebrate the day Sumter, when the Confederacy attacked and succeeded from the Union. There's a reason we don't celebrate these things. There's a reason we shouldn't have Confederate monuments in America, because it represents domestic terrorists, human traffickers, and slavers. We should not celebrate those things that oppress marginalized people. And the fact that you would look at that as the oppression of marginalized people as a glimmer of hope, in my opinion, is very telling, right? The idea that you would look at the oppression of indigenous and black people as a glimmer of hope for America is absurd, right? And so with that, I wanted to welcome Bananas up into the panel. Well, this has been so great. This has been so great, to be honest.
I just want to say hello to Peach and only Peach. Thank you.
That
Oh,
was
dang.
Miss Noir.
Yeah, that
But
was
no,
hard for real.
Hello,
But
darling.
she's a cis
Hello,
white male. What are you
loves.
talking about?
exactly. And so real
Excuse
quick,
me.
hey,
My name
hold
is
on real
actually
quick.
Peach, and my
But
pronouns are
Peach,
he and
yeah,
him because I'm a
Peach is a cis
cisgender,
white male.
heterosexual white man. That's what I
Hey,
Yes.
So
real
am.
it's
quick though.
misogyny
Hey,
then.
hold on real quick. Hey, this was so great. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. With Lloyd, Dantrell, Itchy, Super, Pete. Oh my God, Pete. I want to restart, and I want to repost this specific live as the first one to my YouTube. So I'm gonna end this one now, and then I'm about to restart. Y'all come on right back.
Say less, bro.
YouTube giggity.
Bye, y'all.
All you have to do is say less.
Answer the phone, D.